Welcome to my channel, and I'm back with you once again with another video of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Nowadays I'm exploring the Cessna 152, and in this regard I'm making a series of videos so that it's easy for you to look for a specific information for it. These videos are for the beginners, so that's why I'll just try to stick to the basics. So far I've uploaded two videos in which I've told you how to carry out VR navigation with this plane and plus how to perform an ILS approach and landing. In the second video I've told you how to start this plane from the cold and dark state. Now in this video, I will tell you if you want to practice ILS approach and landing, then how you will do it. Because the video that I've made, it has VR navigation and some little part of ILS, but in this video, I just want to focus more on ILS. So you can just fly different circuits and you can practice ILS. ILS is actually instrument landing system, and this plane is capable of carrying out an ILS approach and landing. I will be doing this practice at Islamabad International Airport. Right now I'm at runway 28 left. This is the runway from where I will be taking off, and this is the runway where I will be landing. So let's start with the basics, and then I'll just come back in the cockpit and I will tell you how to execute this flight. In order to have a better understanding of the airport and the surroundings, I'm using this site skyvector.com. And over here you can make flight plans, and over here you will see that Islamabad International Airport is given. So if you ever see a compass like this with 360 degrees and plus a hexagon shape in it, you will know that it's a VOR, which is very high frequency omnidirectional range. It's actually a radio station, and it's a ground-based navigation device which emits signals in all the directions, and planes actually follow the radio signals in a certain direction. So right now my plane is over here. I'm just explaining it to you so that you understand what I'm actually going to do, because before you do any flight as a beginner, always remember, try to even look at all the charts and everything so that it's in your mind that what you're going to do. So right now my plane is parked over here. This is the runway, and I will be taking off in this direction. Now the direction of the runway is 278 degrees. When I will show you the airport charts, you will get a better clarity. So this is the heading, 278 degrees. Now I will take off from here. Then I will just turn back, all the way back. I will just go here, and at some point I will just turn back and come back again. There were so many backs. And I will land at runway 28 left. So in this regard, what I'll do is this. Once I'm going away from this runway, I will be tracking this VOR. And once I'm coming for the landing, I will be tracking the ILS or the localizer. So there are certain things that you have to do before you carry out this operation. Now, if I tell you that once I'm going back, it's actually the reciprocal of 278 degrees, because right now the plane is heading towards 278 degrees after the takeoff. So if you subtract 180 degrees from it to get the reciprocal, it's actually 98 degrees. So once I'm going away from the runway, I will fly in this heading 98, and once I'm coming back, I will fly 278, and this is how I'm going to track the VOR. Now I'm in the plane, and let's look at the approach plate. I'm actually using Navigraph charts, and as a beginner, if you don't know that, this is actually a site from where you can get a subscription, and then you can have this option within the simulator. You can access the charts, and it's important to have it because approach plates, obviously they are not available over the internet, so that's why you need these approach plates. So that's why Navigraph subscription is important. But somehow if you can just get hold of these Navigraph charts from somewhere else, it's totally up to you. But I would recommend you to have a subscription. And these are only for the simulation purpose, not to be used in the real life. As you can see, the disclaimer is coming at the bottom. Now this is known as an approach plate, and this is the runway. Let me just bring it in the middle so that you can really understand. And this is the initial approach, or rather I will explain it to you over here. At this point, the initial approach will start, and at this point you will start to descend towards the runway. The descent angle will be 3 degrees, the heading will be 278. Heading is actually the direction in which you are going. So you will start to descend towards the runway, and at some point you will touch the runway and your landing is complete. There are a few more things that you have to look at as a beginner. You will see this D10.0 is coming, and this means DME 10, which is 10 nautical miles away from the runway. DME is actually distance measuring equipment. Most of the planes, obviously, they have a distance measuring equipment. They know how far the runway is. Unfortunately, in this plane, you don't have a DME, a distance measuring equipment. So that's why there are a few other tricks that you can do in order to know what is your relevant position to the runway. And this is what I'm going to explain it to you. So once you come over here, your altitude should be 3,700 in order to intercept the glide slope. If you're coming at a higher altitude, obviously, it will be then difficult to land at the runway, because if you're coming at a higher altitude, obviously you will be not landing at the runway, you will be missing it. But as it's a small plane, you can easily do it. But remember this thing, that if at a higher altitude you try to descend towards the runway, your speed will increase. So you have to really control it. So that's why you have to be at this altitude. And if you're coming at a lower altitude, it's not a big issue. Somehow you can then again land at the runway. Now looking at this part of the approach plate, you will see some information. The first one is the ILS DME. This is the Instrument Landing System DME, which is 108.1, and the heading of the runway is 278 degrees. Then this is also the frequency for the VOR. If you look at the approach plate and you look at the circle, this actually represents the VOR. You might be making a flight plan at some other airport, and the VOR is not placed over here. VOR can be over here, can be over here, left or right of the runway, maybe at over here. So different airports have got different placement of the VORs. For Islamabad International Airport, it's placed in the middle of the runways, and this is the heading that I will be using, 278, to actually track this VOR while approaching towards the runway. And then I will use ILS to actually align the plane with the runway. So this is the heading that you have to keep in your mind. Then you have the VOR frequency 114.6 BTR. This is coming. This is another frequency, Islamabad 112.1. This is actually the old airport's VOR. So you can also track this VOR, but it's not required in this flight. But this is the one that you are looking for. So what I'll do is this, that after the takeoff, I will just turn like this. I will go all the way back, tracking heading 98 degrees, and I will be moving away from the VOR. This is what I will also explain it to you in this video. And once I'm at this point, and how I will know it, this is again, I'm going to tell you how will I know it. So at this point, I will actually turn back again, and I will fly in the heading of 270 degrees, and I will land. So let's first of all enter this information over here in the plane. Now if you look at the instruments, you will see this radio communication panel. On the left hand side, the upper panel and the lower panel, these are for the communication with the ATC for radio communication. And on the right hand side, these two panels are basically for the navigation. So your ILS and your VOR frequencies will go over here. Each panel has got two parts. One is the active frequency and one is the frequency which you're going to enter. And then you will just press this button to swap these frequencies and make the one that you have entered the active one. So over here, I will be tracking the ILS, and over here, I will be tracking the VOR. Now for the ILS, the frequency is 108.1 as it's coming over here, 108.1. And that's it. And I will just press this button. As soon as I will make this frequency the active frequency, you will see this CDI, the course deflection indicator, coming to life. Here it is. So now it's there, and this nav thing is coming. So it means you are actually tracking this frequency and it's active and the plane is picking up its signals. Now for the BTR, for the VOR, I will use the low one and it is 114.6. Just make this the active frequency, and right now you can see this also shows nav. Now there are two things to consider. You see these triangles, one says to and one says from. Now this actually tells you whether you are going towards that instrument which you are tracking. Either in case of ILS it's the localizer, in case of VOR it's the VOR. So as VOR is over there, so that's why from, it means you're going away from it. And localizer, it's picking up the frequency, you're going towards it. So there will be a time when both of them will be from. But right now my main concern is this. So as I've told you before, the reciprocal of 278 degrees is 278 minus 180 and 98. So I will be heading this in this direction. So this is actually 60, this is 70, this is 80, and then you have 90, and then this is 100. So once you go to 100, just move back 2 clicks, and now you are, it says 2. But eventually when I will just turn back, it will start to say from. So right now my current heading is 278. This is the compass, this is actually your actual heading, 278 degrees, as you can see. It's rather fixed at 275, not exactly 278. And just make sure you press D on your keyboard in order to align this compass. You also see this compass over here. So this doesn't change. So that's why just look at it, and if your compass doesn't point in this direction, then press D in order to align it. That's it. Now there are more other things that I can just tell you right now, but I will just try to keep things simple as a beginner, because there is some barometric pressure that you also have to enter. So I'm not going into that thing for now. So let's get back the yoke, and let's try to fly this plane. I will just keep this chart over here. The best thing is this, that you do these flights and everything without the charts. As you can see, this plane doesn't have any GPS in it, and you don't know where you're going. You just use these two CDIs, the course deflection indicators, to actually see where you're going. So this is the best thing. But right now, just for your information, I will just do it. Let me just press this button, and then you will also see the plane over here on this chart. So let's start the flight. One thing I just forgot to tell you, these needles are basically the course deflection indicator needles. So they tell you whether you are on the course or not. So as I'm on the runway, I'm aligned with the runway, and this is in the middle, this center line, this CDI. And this line is actually the glide slope indicator. If I tune into 108.1 over here, now you will see this also has started to show the glide slope. So for VOR, there is no glide slope indicator, but for the ILS, there is a glide slope indicator. If this needle is above, it means you are at a lower altitude and you have to go up. Right now I'm on the ground, and that's why this is up. So as soon as I will keep on climbing up and moving away from the runway, this will come down. Remember this thing, as long as this glide slope indicator is above the center line, you are at a good altitude. But if it goes below, it means you're coming at a higher altitude and you have to descend in order to intercept that. Now, the tricky part, as I told you before in this video, that how you will know that you are at this point. This actually glide slope indicator will come in the middle. So once it's in the middle, then I know I'm at this point, maybe somewhere here. You will see it on the charts. And then I will just turn back and I go for the landing. The airport elevation is 1,700 feet, as you can see. It's coming over here. So I will climb up to 5,000 feet, and then I will just turn around and come back. So this is the theory. So let's release the parking brakes and let's give some power to the plane. And let's take it up in the air. I'm just trying to keep this on the center line. Okay. Now it's time to raise the flaps. Oh, they are already up. I didn't extend the flaps for the takeoff. Anyhow, I just took off without the flaps. So now you can see I'm going straight. So now it's time to start the maneuver. Now, but before this, what I'll do is this: I will just reduce the RPM, because if you keep on going on higher RPMs or higher throttle, then it gets a bit difficult to control it. So you can see the RPM is coming over here. Right now it was at 2,500, 2,400 maybe. I'll just keep it at 2,300. So that's easy for me to control the plane. Now I will just turn back and I will just track this VOR. You can see deflections coming. Just ignore them, and then I will tell you how to actually follow it. As I've told you, we have to turn back, so my heading should be 98. So I will fly in this heading 98, and then I will tell you why I will further turn left. But right now I will just level off the plane at 98 degrees. So currently, if you look at the compass, you will see my heading is 98 degrees. I'm going in this right direction. But I am actually away from this line, as this indicator is telling you that you're away from the VOR. I have to actually fly like this. I'm just telling you this thing in order to increase your knowledge of the VOR and how you do the tracking and how you actually follow the VOR and how what is the actually purpose of the CDI. So this course deflection indicator is right now on the left hand side. So it means you have to turn left, and as soon as it starts coming in the middle, you will be flying on this line away from the VOR. Right now it's coming to, because still you haven't crossed the runway. So I will keep 98 over here on this needle, which is 45 degrees deflection. So I will turn left and keep 98 at 45 degrees, intercepted by 45 degrees. That's it. And let's also look at the vertical speed in order to climb. And now you can see from is appearing over here. Let me just pause it and show it to you. Now from is coming. So now I'm moving away from the VOR as I've crossed it over here. If you look at the chart, I've crossed the VOR. So this is the VOR. That's it. Now I will intercept it. Sorry for this. Now I will intercept this line flying in this direction, and as soon as this course deflection indicator starts to move in the middle, I will then again start to turn right, and then once this course deflection indicator needle is in the middle, then I will be following this line. So let's take the simulator out of the pause and let's keep on flying and see what happens. Just have to pitch up a bit in order to increase the altitude. Now you can see this course deflection indicator is moving the needle. So just turn right, try to keep it in the middle. Now I'm just adjusting the heading of the plane in order to keep this needle in the middle. Once you are near the viewer, there is a huge deflection, and if you go away from the viewer, the further you are, the less deflection. So right now, little movements will cause some huge deflection, but anyhow we have got some huge ground to cover, so it's okay. I can always align. So right now I'm just going in the heading of 90 degrees. And slowly this is moving in the middle. Now you can see I'm coming on this line. So this is a good way to practice. Now another thing, you can see this glide slope needle is also, indicator is also going up. Why it's going up? Now I'm moving away from the runway, and if you assume that I must be at some point over here, okay. So this is the altitude I should be at this point in order to land at the runway, but I have to go all the way to this point. Okay, so maybe at this point you can just turn back and land by maintaining the altitude, or maybe you can just like climb up to 5,000 feet or maybe 4,000 feet and then turn around and come back. It's totally up to you. Even if right now you want to carry out an ILS approach and landing, you can just do that. Okay. But I was just like taking some time in order to tell you how to align yourself or your plane with the runway. Okay, great. So now you can see this is going up, so it means I'm moving away from it. My altitude is also increasing now as I'm climbing. So if I just increase the climb rate, just keep an eye over here for the vertical speed. Actually, there are two things that I'm doing. Following the glide slope and plus the VOR. So if I just keep on increasing the altitude, you will see this keeps going down. Now I'm there. Let's turn back. Just wanted to show you something, because if you start to see 3,700 over here on your altimeter and this line is in the middle, it means you are at this point. So let's further climb. I just actually want to climb to 3,700 feet just to show you. If you're flying this plane and you are carrying out these type of ILS approaches, just going in different circuits and then landing the plane, it will really increase your handling skills and your piloting skills. So let's go up to 3,700. Now you can see it's coming in the middle. So I'm somewhere here. Not somewhere, maybe exactly. So that's how you know where you are. Just move up a bit. And that's it. So if I level off at 3,700, you will see that now I'm at this point, and maybe I can just turn back now, follow the ILS and land. Now this line is going up, the glide slope indicator, it means I'm moving away from the runway. So at this point, I can again change the heading. Let's go back and land 270. So west is 270. So I will just go set it to 278. Speed is already less, so I will now turn around. And I am now tracking the VOR 2. Now you can see 2 has started to come. So now I am, instead of going away from the VOR, I'm going towards the VOR. So I will not only track the VOR, I will also track the ILS. Now you can see I'm turning back. There is deflection. I'll just try to keep it in the middle, try to intercept it, and then fly towards the runway. So right now my heading is 278, but it's not the correct heading. Let me just intercept it by flying in the heading of 270 degrees. And now you can see this glide slope indicator has started to come down. So it means that now I have to start the descent. Let me just reduce the speed. You can see the runway over here. So that's it. Now you can see this course deflection indicator for the ILS is also moving towards the middle. So now I will stop tracking the viewer and I will just keep my eye over here. So I will not only follow the glide slope but also the CDI needle in order to see whether I am aligned with the runway or not. Visibility is really low. So just keep on flying in this direction. Now just keep this glide slope indicator in the middle. If it goes up, you go up. If it goes down, you go down. It's really easy. So right now it's going down, so I have to, decrease the altitude. Let me reduce the thrust because obviously now the plane is descending, so that's why the speed will increase. So that in order to have a better control on the plane, you have to reduce the speed. I think some gust of wind. It's a light plane, so that's why wind movements really affect this plane a lot. So right now I'm just flying towards the right side in order to intercept this localizer. So that's in the middle. That's coming in the middle, so now I can. Now this needle is going up, so it means my descent rate was really high. So I have to pitch up a bit in order to decrease the descent rate. So that's how you manage to follow the glide slope. As the speed is now below 80 knots, I can have flaps, lower them by 1 notch. So flaps provide drag. Flaps help the plane to reduce the speed and plus provide a lift. So that's why at lower speeds you should have flaps. I'm going for the full flaps landing. Another notch down. If you just pause it, and if you just look over here, 20 degrees, and the full flaps will be 30 degrees. Actually, the rudder controller is in the, I'm using the Thrustmaster Airbus stick, so that's why as soon as you touch the stick, you can see the rudder is moving. So that's why, flying this plane with this stick gets difficult, because if you've got the rudder controls in your stick. So a little bit of movement left to right will move the rudder. If you have got rudder paddles, then your life will be really easy. But if you want to manage it with that, it's okay. So now you can see my landing speed will be not more than 60 knots. It's a bit windy. My landings were never good when I started the flight simulation. But after flying this plane and landing it, trust me, then landing any plane has become really easy for me. Because it's a small plane and it is affected a lot by small change in the wind. So that's why you have to be really vigilant while landing this plane. So it gives you very good control. So now when I'm landing some big planes like Airbus A320, 310, 787, 737, I'm good at it. So practice a lot the ILS approach and landing. It will really help you, and plus it will give you a very good awareness of the airspace. Obviously with the big planes like 787 and 737, you cannot do these kind of things. It will take a lot of time. But with the small planes, you can just circle around. You can carry out VFR or IFR, and you can have an awareness of the surroundings, and then you can just practice different approaches. There's also a viewer approach. In this viewer approach, you don't use the ILS. You simply use your use visuals in order to land. So these are the papillae. If 2 are red and 2 are white, it means you are following the glide slope. But if 3 are red and all are red, it means you are at a lower altitude. And if 3 are white and all are white, then it means you are at a higher altitude. Now this is my target zone for the touchdown. Now I will just pitch up the plane a bit in order to reduce the speed and land it. Now put the throttle in the idle state, and that's it. So that's how you practice ILS. You can now from here take off again and just reduce the flaps, maybe down by 1 degree, and then you can just give another throttle and just go back and come again if you want to practice landings. Too much drift towards the left side. I just took my hand off the controller. Anyhow, thank you very much for watching this video. If you have any questions or if you want to add anything to this video, the comment section is there for you. Thank you very much for watching this video. Have a nice day. Hope to see you soon.